Well, I'm Dave Thurka. I'm senior producer at Digital Extremes working on Warframe.
So to talk about your new expansion coming up, like all these huge changes are being made into the game.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to get back to the Infested and really get into their story. And, we've dealt with the Corpus, we've dealt with the Sentience and the Grenier, but we've always had this kind of, you know, group on the side that, they've always been involved, but there's a bit of a mystery to them. But they're actually quite critical to the events of the past and the future when it comes to the old war, the new war, and that type of stuff. So this is our opportunity to go back to what we've really felt we've been really good at, which is these open world landscapes with the civilian hubs connected to it, and really get that story out. Have that civilian hub that has the Entrati family there. Understand what their relationships are, what they're doing there, and kind of dig into what's going on Deimos and what is the Infested.
You guys, for the first time, are introducing a new gameplay mechanics in the main hub area with the Helmsman. You guys had that room in the game for 5 years. You finally decided to do something with it. Was that something you always wanted to do with it but didn't have time, and then finally got around to it in this DLC?
Yeah, like you said, like many years ago, we kind of seeded it, and there was a locked room on the orbiter with making noises, and people were, what is that? And then we got to the update where you could open it up, and it was the Helmsman Infirmary, and there was like the cyst gameplay with the Nidus Warframe and that type of stuff. Well, this is the next step because in some of the quests that we already have out, like the Sacrifice, you do understand your connection to the Infested and how that connects to you and your Warframe and all the Warframes. So here we go again. We're coming back to the Helmet and showing how it's connected to the Warframes and how, for the player, how they can kind of tune their loadout a bit more with this just bizarre, life form that runs that room. But it's all connected to the heart of Deimos, the Infested, the Warframes. It all comes together. So to say that we knew this was the plan from the start, I don't know about that, but we're happy the way it worked out, the way we seeded it, and the beats we hit to get to this point.
So for the first time in franchise history, you're able to take abilities from other Warframes and put them onto another Warframe. What was like that for your team? Was that a challenge in balancing issues, deciding how many you could put? You guys decided on one, but was the challenge to decide more than one? Were there balancing issues, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think that was one of the earliest things when Warframe started was like, is that something we could do at some point, like borrow abilities from other Warframes? I think as we developed this system, over the years we've seen how when we release new Warframes, players use them in ways that we never expected. Like they surprise us in ways with their power synergies with other players and other Warframes. Things that we couldn't have possibly calculated up front and predicted. So this, again, is that similar kind of thing where we're letting the player kind of, do a little bit of their own chemistry to mix up their power sets. And, we want to crack the door open enough to let people experiment, but there's some restrictions that we know we have to make for certain abilities that might, break on other Warframes or just have, like Equinox, or Warframes that split into two or do really bizarre things. There might be powers that just don't fit or translate as well. So, but we really want to give you the most options possible and see what players come up with.
Can you talk about how you guys learned from past expansions that you've improved upon in your upcoming one? For example, Fortuna, you introduced hoverboards, and now you have dragonflies you can ride in this one, but it's the same type of mechanics, just slightly different. Yeah, I think the first open world was a lot about figuring out the tech and how to do that. The second open world was, taking lessons learned and trying to create a new world and space that has different gameplay aspects and avenues. And now we're at this third open world, Deimos, and I think we've really, we've got over the tech hurdles. We've cleared a bunch of design stumbling blocks that caught us up before, so we could really focus on shaping that experience and making it fun for the player, making it new and interesting.
And I think where we had Arcwing in Plains of Eidolon, and we had the hoverboards in Fort Valis. I think really what you're looking at now is we have the mechs in Deimos. Like, we do have the hoverboard creature that you can corral and take for a spin, but I think the mechs are probably more of a parallel when we're talking about adding a new way to move in the game, to fight in the game, and experience it. But of course, we've added to the K drives that you can shoot from it now. So riding a dragonfly and shooting guys, that's dope.
And speaking of the Necromechs, you can also, those are going to be like worldwide. They're not just limited to the infestation area, right? You can use those anywhere.
I'm not sure what the intentions are or what the restrictions are, but yeah, it's. I'm positive it won't be limited to Deimos. Similar to the K drive and the Arcwing, there's areas you can summon them or game modes you can use them for, but I think I'm not totally clear what our restrictions will be just yet, but yeah, as many places as possible.
So speaking of from a design and art design perspective, what were some of the inspirations when creating these new biomes? Like, I'm a big 40K player, and I saw a lot of, well, for me, I was like, that looks like a Tyranid planet, and the Necromech looks like it was plucked right out of the Imperium and could be put on a table and be played as a Space Marine piece, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I know. We have Warhammer fans and a lot of miniature painters at our studio. Honestly, the influences come from all over. I mean, I'm looking at your office and I'm seeing all kinds of cool stuff that, those are the type of things that influence us at the studio too, and we take bits and pieces from here and there. For this, I think we had a good visual language for the Infested established. We had a lot of things that we've created in the past, so we could leap off that to create the landscape. But yeah, for newer things like the cool worms and just newer wildlife or animals or enemy types, we draw inspiration from everything.
Now, your expansions usually release on PC first, followed by a month or two, or a little bit of a delay before hitting consoles. This release is hitting all platforms simultaneously. Was there any challenge in that, and working together with your different teams on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PS4, and PC? Like, what went into that?
Absolutely. I think this is the biggest update that we've attempted to do. A simultaneous release. The biggest hurdle is usually lead times for consoles that have to go through a cert process. So for PC, if we were going to release it on the 25th, we're probably touching it right up to the second that it releases. This time we kind of have to let it go. It has to go into cert. It has to be a more stable build. It has to check all the boxes from Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft. So those are challenges, but we're prepared for them. We're ahead of them, and I think we're looking like we're in really good shape for this one. There may be a little more bug fallout than we're used to, because we usually have a week or two to collect from a large player base, collect bugs, but we can act fast and patch those consoles as well. So we're going to give it a try. We're going to do it.
And the last question I have for you is the most common one I think your team gets consistently, but I have to ask it because people yell at me if I don't. And is, do you have any plans, or are you working on cross-play or cross-save integration across the Warframe platforms?
We've been noodling with cross-save a bit. I think our priorities have kind of shifted here and there, but the discussion is ongoing. Not so much cross-play discussion, but cross-save, I think, is something that we've thought is more realistic. But yeah, more to be determined on that front.